everyone. My name is Andrea Metz, and I'm a real estate investor. And I am going to add a friend of mine, a great speaker today. Give me 1 second. Hey, Vic. Good morning. Hi there. How
Hello.
are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, of course. So I'm super excited today. I have a friend of mine and my accountability partner, Dr. Ayesha Khalid, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about your journey on capital raising. So if you don't mind, can you just share a little bit about yourself and how you found your niche as a capital raiser?
Well, first of all, Andrea, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for dragging me into the world of Instagram Live. This is my first Instagram Live, so I'm so excited by the community you're building. As you know, the capital raising is really new for us. I just joined real estate and multifamily in November of last year, so it hasn't even been a year. I had no experience. I still practice as a physician, and certainly there's a lot that I have learned along the years about connecting with patients and really hearing people's concerns. I think maybe that part translated over to capital raising. But when I did the course, it basically, the things we were taught were, well, you have to jump in and see where you can add value to a team. So I'm naturally an extrovert. I love helping people. I thought, why don't we try capital raising and we'll learn the other parts of the business? And to be honest, it was extremely scary. My husband said, let's do it. And I said, no, let's not. Let's continue to learn till we learn everything, all the underwriting, all the parts. But then we figured then we'd never start. So then we jumped in.
That's a really great point. I know in my journey, my husband also was like, he knows that I love to learn, on my Clifton Strengths, learner is number 2 for me. So it's in my, not only in my top 5, but it's literally the second strength of mine. So I've got 2 master's degrees because I could be like a professional,
Student.
professional education person, student, right? But at some point, Zach said to me, okay, Andrea, at some point you have to stop watching the videos and you have to take action. And I was, that was really hard to hear, right? But it was really necessary because, you have to actually not just understand what's going on, but you have to actually take action and start to do the process. So can you explain to me some of the skills and some of the knowledge that you feel have helped you succeed in capital raising?
Sure, sure. And it's still a learning process. But I will say that, there's so many courses out there on real estate. Obviously, you and I did the multifamily mindset. There are some videos that I have watched frequently online that Tyler Devereaux has, where the premise is when you are capital raising, you are not asking for people's money because you need the money.
That's
You're
right.
asking them to invest their money with you because you're bringing them a good deal, a great deal, something that you believe in. And I think that is probably the most important skill, which is learning to understand that if people feel that you're desperate to sell them something, they're immediately going to turn off emotionally and mentally and feel that you might be making it a better deal than it is. And that's hard. That's hard when you're in the middle of a deal. The second skill I will say, and I heard this actually 2 or 3 days ago on a lunchtime learn session with Rob Rousel. I hadn't been on with Rob and his wife, and I just logged in, and one of the other participants said, capital raising never stops. And I
Oh,
think that that's a really great point because right now, at this moment, we're not currently raising for a deal, but this week, I've probably had 3 or 4 conversations with people about real estate. And I know that the second thing that I'm learning is patience. Sometimes people have to just learn the terms and imagine that they are, not just working in sales or software like you, but that they could also be in real estate, and you have to help them walk that path. And so patience, I think, is the other skill. And the third is, I still don't think I'm there yet, but really knowing your deal, really understanding the numbers. The questions that people ask when you're capital raising are all different.
Mhm.
Some people really read the footnote on the deck and just want to know about that. Other people want to know if you've been to the city several times. Other people want to know why you trust these humans, and they've done background checks on all the people on the deal.
Right.
So you sort of have to be prepared. And a lot of times I'm honest and I say, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm going to have to go back to the team and find out, because I think that if you bullshit with people, then it's worse. You're just never going to regain their trust.
Well, and I think too, there's a lot of different roles that you can play on the multifamily investment side, right? You can be the capital raiser. You can be the one that actually does acquisitions and finds the deals. You can be the one, that's doing investor relations, and you're really, you know, basically making sure that folks understand what's happening. What are the updates that are happening in the deal? What value adds or is the team really working to put in the property? So what factors should you consider when trying to figure out like what role matches your own personality and the strengths that you bring to the table? Because we can't do everything, right? And that's the risk, right? We all are kind of tempted by, oh, I want to learn how to underwrite, and I want to, capital raise, and I want to be the person to talk to the investors, and I want to, all the things. But how do you figure out, where your skill set fits best?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question. And I think it's also a polarizing question. Some people will say one thing and others might say the complete opposite. What I mean by that is, do you play to your strengths or do you try to go out of your comfort zone? So when
Okay.
I first started, I really wanted to get masterful at underwriting. But the steps for me to get masterful, I mean, I was starting with like a basic foundation in Excel. I don't ever use Excel in my work. So for me to learn underwriting, which I continue to do, it's a process. And if I had waited to say, you know what, I can do this, I can push through, and I can do something I've never done, but on top of it, sell that concept of what I'm finding to other people, I think that would have been hard. So personally, I think that you can learn the other parts along the way, but pick what you might love to do. What would make you feel a little scared, but not so scared your brain shuts down? So for me, that is formulas in Excel, and then jump with it, right? And as you gain strength or knowledge or comfort after you've, let's say, raised capital or done underwriting for a while, you can even put a time on it, a year, then say, okay, now I want to go and learn the other parts of the business, because then when people ask me about deals, I'm really comfortable. So I say, play to your strengths. If you're somebody that is very organized, that really can track things, then asset management might be amazing for you, right?
Sure.
And if you're somebody that says, well, I don't mind talking to people I don't know, and I don't love rejection, but I can handle it, then maybe capital raising is for you. So, and let's say that you're scared of all of it. Well, then it truly doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, as you know, Andrea, a lot of the people that are getting into this are younger than I am. And just be brave and start somewhere and ask for help, especially in MFM, like ask for help from other people. And they'll tell you, oh, I see that you might be very good at this part instead of this part. And just take that feedback and say, I just want to fit into the team somewhere or build a team. So
Yeah.
I think the more important question is not what you start doing. The more important question is to start.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know for me personally. You started about a month before I did in November. I joined in December. So it's been really helpful for me to have a buddy, like a foxhole buddy that is one step ahead of me, right? And I'm trying to focus on some things like social media and building an audience and some of those kinds of things that you haven't done yet. And so having that accountability and having a partner that, we can learn from each other, and, you can help me with the capital raising. I can help you with some of the social media stuff. And, I think that's so helpful. And everybody in the group has been amazing, to work with and share knowledge with. What would you say your primary responsibilities are as a capital raiser?
So, on the note of having the accountability buddy, like shout out to Cindy for creating her
Yeah.
Women of Color multifamily mindset with Janelle, because that's how Andrea and I met. And I really do think it helps. And on that note, when they first said you need to build a team and have an accountability partner, I thought they meant the team, the business enterprise, right? Like we all have to find partners and do deals together. But actually, I think they mean like just people to literally help you along the
Right.
way, right? So I'm really grateful that you got me on this morning and that we're pushing each other, because there's days where you don't feel like doing it.
Right.
So,
For sure.
oh, and now I forgot your question,
My question was
actually.
just, what are your
Oh,
primary
oh yes.
responsibilities in capital raising? Yep.
Yes. So, as we've heard on different webinars, what you don't want to do and what really feels like, at least in my rudimentary knowledge, is not legal is just to raise capital. Say, hey, I brought in X amount of dollars to a deal. I'm done. I washed my hands of it. I want a GP stake, and let me know when we're selling. So I think having a conversation up front with whoever you're working with and saying, how can I add value? And in one of the properties, that's been more through the asset management side, which then allows us to really learn what happens in the hard part, which is the several years of owning and revamping and value adding to the property
Yeah.
down in Jacksonville, versus investor relations. So that's another way you can play a role. You've raised money from people and they've entrusted you with their money. They expect that you're going to be deep diving with the team on how the property's doing and creating content and reporting back to them and having conversations with them. And if there's a problem, letting them know up front, hey, we're having trouble with this part, but if you see something in the next newsletter we send, like, don't be concerned. I think making sure that the capital raising doesn't end with the last, deposit in cash flow, that there
Yeah.
is a responsibility that you're doing beyond that, is really, really important. And it sounds like really necessary from the SEC standpoint to be
Yeah.
legal.
Keeps you out of jail,
So,
right?
yes, exactly.
So can you describe sort of, I know you still have your W-2 and you're doing your ear, nose, and throat surgeries and things like that. Can you describe sort of what a day in the life or a typical day looks like for you
Oh, wow.
on the actual, I mean, I know we all are kind of working towards transition and things like that, but, what are all the things that you're doing for, as a capital raiser, as somebody that is, working towards that transition at some point?
So I think it's really important for people that hear this or listen to the webinars to not feel pressured, which in other realms of my life, I've always heard, well, if you're doing a startup, you have to like hard quit your job and just live on ramen noodles. But the reality is that's often not financially possible, especially for people with families. So what does a day in the life look like? Wow, it means you're fitting it in early in the morning or on evenings or on weekends. And in the capital raising realm, it often means, like last night, I was on a call with a friend who is very interested in real estate. And I thought, oh gosh, I got home from work, I'll be on the phone for 30 minutes. And it was an hour and a half. And you have to adjust things and have a conversation with your family about meal time. So I would say many evenings are spent either speaking to possible investors or learning. And then the second thing I would say is try to carve out a dedicated time where you're not working during the weekdays. Like even if it's half a day, and really guard that time for you to be doing your business growth, which is not easy. So that for me has been Friday mornings. And I try to just never schedule anything other than building the real estate business, learning or getting on calls or working on social media and messaging Andrea with questions. But you just have to become masterful at scheduling yourself.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I do want to be respectful of your time. I know you had, about 20 minutes. I could ask you one more question if that's okay. Okay.
Yes.
How about the biggest challenge that you've faced in multifamily and how you've been able to overcome that? Or if there's anything else that you'd like to share with folks that are interested in getting into multifamily investing, what would that be?
Yes. So honestly, that challenge happens all the time, and it even happened in the last 2 weeks. And it's the following: it's my mind. So,
Good.
we've raised capital on 2 deals, and my husband and I were discussing, okay, should we get in on another deal? And here's what I said, true story, last week. Oh, I don't think we should really look for other deals because, like, what if that one team comes back and then, God forbid, we have to raise capital on 2 deals in the next few months? We wouldn't be able to do that. So, and then after I said that a few times, I realized this playing small is just in my mind. Like, there is no rule that says that every month, if you try to capital raise, you can only raise X amount. Like, there's no maximum that is already set. And in fact, I'm afraid to raise money on the next deal on many given days because I'm worried I can't do it. So, what gives me that data? Nothing. That's just in my mind. And when we started MFM, I'm such a fan of mindset, and I was shocked at how much of that path curriculum was on mindset. But
Yes.
the reality is you have to reset your mindset every single morning and every single
You're
night.
not ever done
And
with that piece, right?
that's the challenge, that's the community, that's what's going to make you fail. Really, it's just yourself saying, I can't do this, because there's clearly folks as young as 18, as
Yeah.
old as 70, and they're all doing it. So I would say that's usually my biggest struggle.
That's so good. I constantly am having to reset my mindset, and sometimes we can get into a habit of having limiting beliefs that there's no data backing it up, like you said. It's basically you're thinking one way, and there's no valid reason that we should think that way, because there's nothing that tells us actually that that is truth or history or anything. It's just in our mind. We have fear sometimes. We have,
Yes,
we
yes,
have imposter syndrome. We have all these things that try to prevent us from living the best life that we can possibly live. And we have to stay focused on what is the why that is driving what we're doing, so that we can continue to do the hard things, even when we don't feel like it, even when we have fear,
yes.
even when we're just stepping out, leaping in faith, hoping that everything works out. Um,
Exactly. I want to say one thing. I have put this sign on my fridge, and you used the word exactly right, and it has to do with fear. And I heard a quote from Tony Robbins recently that fear is false evidence appearing real.
yes.
So every time I'm afraid, I look at the little thing on the fridge and I'm like, oh, there's some more false evidence appearing super real.
Yes.
And the second thing I heard is everyone has imposter syndrome. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just tell yourself, oh, that's just my imposter syndrome kicking in, and just kick it to the curb for today. I'll just come back to it tomorrow and kick it again.
That's right. That's right. That's so amazing. Well, I so appreciate you coming on and just chatting a little bit about your
Amazing.
experience with capital raising. And I so appreciate your time, and I love that you're my accountability partner. I feel like we've grown so much in the last 6 months.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
taking an inventory of like all the things that we've learned, and it was so much. And so I'm just really grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you were able to come on this morning. And I know you've got a busy day, so I don't want to keep you, but thank you.
Ditto. I'm so grateful. I hope folks enjoy this. I can't wait to see you build your brand and have a super blessed day.
All right, you too. Take care. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.